welcome everyone to yet another SDN Community Voices, our weekly touch point between you, the members and the followers of the Service Design Network, and all these amazing voices that we have in this big design community. My name is Felipe, and as always, I will be your ambassador and host. And today I'm very excited to bring Tash to the stage. She has amazing insights and has been a speaker for so many years. So I'll let her introduce herself as I always do, but I just wanted to say I'm excited for today. And before we dive in, as always, a quick reminder to drop any questions you might have in the chat. We'll address them during the Q&A segment by the end of this episode. And also just keep interacting throughout the process. But now let's just bring Tash to the stage and ask her to introduce herself. Hey, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. We've already done the chit chat. If I move on, because so I don't look rude to Philippe.
Yeah.
It's really love to be here. I almost didn't make it. I went on the wrong link because I did not check the small details. So I am Tash. I do not check the small details occasionally, but I'm a learning designer at a organisation called TPXimpact, and I used to work at a wonderful organisation called Snook and Hyper Island before that. I've always had one foot in education and one foot in sort of like practice, which is a really privileged place to be. It's quite a learning curve. I think every year I get a new thing thrown at me. So a little bit of what I'm doing at the minute. So I'll keep this really short and sweet because I'm juggling quite a few things. But I've been working with the DBT, Department of Business and trade, that's the other word. So we're
Yeah.
finishing an 8-month academy, and that was designed in partnership, and it was really exciting. We've been creating everything from sort of behavior and mindset sessions in UCD digital and agile and leadership to sort of more community of practice led stuff, so storytelling and user research and service pattern spotting. So I've been doing that. I'm facilitating 5-day courses in leading in a digital world and leading modern public services, and that's with the Scottish Digital Academy and the Welsh CDPS, which is the equivalent. So that's with public servants, and it's looking at leadership in digital. And the last thing I'll mention is Topple. So Topple's really, really exciting. I get to work with basically sort of surgeons and people in health and social care professionals. They have an idea, they get funding, and then we take them through user-centered design and human-centered design and agile so that they can take and lead their sort of digital health transformations and innovation ideas in their organizations. A lot of those conversations, they're talking stuff that completely makes me go, I have no idea what they're talking about. But then we sort of, I have my place in it, they have their place in it, and we meet really nicely in the middle. So those are a few things I'm doing. On the side, I still do my drawing a day, and on the side of that, I run the design education community. I am going to finish it there, else I'll just go on for ages.
Yeah, I mean, it's so many things and so many interesting things. I think just to start us off, I thought was very interesting that point that you were saying of the doctors, of the healthcare professionals, that you have no idea what they're doing. And then you're kind of bridging, because I think it goes over and over in these conversations that is the idea that we are not the experts, but just the
Yeah.
facilitators on the conversation, right? But I think so interesting from all of those different things that you're doing right now, that they're so diverse. So, what are some of the things maybe you learn along the way from this more present activities, but also ones back in Hyper Island or things like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think you've just sort of nailed it there. I think the biggest learning for me, so I was a lecturer at one point. I fell backwards into lecturing at a very, very young age. I started when I was about 22. My entire career is backwards, but basically I loved it. It was really incredible. But the fastest learning and the best learning was when mobile phones came in.
Mm.
And so back in the dark ages. So before, lecturers tended to own the knowledge a little bit, and I never really liked that. But I remember there was this day where one of the students sort of went, "No, that's not quite right," and sort of went, "Here it says X, Y, Z," and I was like, "Awesome." let's sort of dig into that. And it became a two-way conversation rather than us stood at the front. And we owned the knowledge. And that was exciting. And that got really, really sort of tangly and brilliant really quickly. And you could sort of share perspectives and sort of really play with that. And I think it was that the moment I let go of having to own the knowledge, because I'm never going to know everything in the world. And now everybody has it at their fingertips. So with Topple, I think if I'd done that when I was younger, I would have been like, "Oh no, I don't know enough about it. I don't need to." So what I bring, the tools, the mindsets, and sort of the ways of working in agile and user-centered design and human-centered design, that's what I bring to the party. What they bring is all their incredible knowledge and sort of like in practice skills. And that's where it's like that's that working in the middle. It's that sort of co-design space, so it's that cooperation, collaboration, communication, yeah, and doing it together. So it's let go of owning the knowledge. Our superpower, um, I go often say I'm just a beautiful idiot. It's I'm not even beautiful. So yeah, our superpower sometimes is that naivety, is going
Yeah.
in, and it's okay to be naive because that's where you learn, that's where you ask those questions. And I promise I'll finish. I'm one of those people that give the biggest answers in the world. That's where psychological safety comes in for you as an individual. So you have to create your own psychological safety and sit in that space. And it's a really brave space. But creating psychological safety with the individuals, the teams, the organizations that you'll work with, because you have to ask why a lot. You have to ask awkward questions. You have to ask, hey, what's under that carpet that you've hidden loads of stuff that you don't want me to see? But actually, if we unpack it, let's say those those drawers in the kitchen that have just got stuff in it that you don't really want anyone to see. Sort of what's in there? Let's unpack it. Let's unpack it together. And it's with curiosity, not blame. So yeah, sorry. Longest answer
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, but I think it's really just being humble to have that curiosity, right? And know that you're not the expert and you're learning there with them and not kind of, as you're saying, owning all of the knowledge of the world. And it's quite interesting, the whole thing about the mobile phone or even the internet also, because I think there was this number saying that in the past 20 years or so since the internet was really founded, we created much more information than the past 2000, right? It's just like massive amount of information that's on your fingertips. And nowadays also with the advantages of AI, it's even easier just to find something. But at the same time, it creates this whole conversation on information being easily accessible doesn't really mean that the knowledge is easily accessible, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny, I've started writing a blog, but it's probably going to take me forever because I can't quite get what I've got in my head. I'll probably draw it 100 times about tools. And basically, so a hammer is a tool. We had a hammer, everything looks like a nail, you hit it. And that's the sort of like, if you don't use the knowledge wisely, it's just you with a hammer hitting a nail and everything looks like a nail. But then I think what's interesting, I used to say a phone was just a tool. It's just a tool. It's just another tool because it's passive. So the phone used to be passive, like the hammer. But I think the phone has gone into a really interesting space because it's active now. It does things without me asking it to do it.
Yeah.
So it's quite active. And that's the same with AI. And AI is part of the reason this has become active. So it's like in that transient space. It's not fully active and it's not fully passive. But AI coming in, it is a tool, but it's an active tool and it's something that can do things without us being involved. And that's what makes it really complex. And how we engage with it is really, really important because, you know, it can steal knowledge from us, and that like in the what's it called, intellectual property way. But I'm sort of more talking, it scares me that students might be writing essays on ChatGPT because that's not learning, that's just getting the thing to do it for you. The learning, because it's like maps, service blueprint. It's not the service blue. That doesn't really matter in the bigger scheme of things. It's the mapping and the writing, that essay. It's not about the essay. It's not what you gave in. It's not about the grade. It's about the writing. It's about
Yeah.
that journey you go through. And that's my fear, is taking that easy route. We're slowly not going to get lost. We're not going to find those weird things. We're not going to stumble over stuff and go down little rabbit holes. I was going to say
Yeah.
wormholes.
Yeah, I mean, the learning becomes really comes in the process, right? Not the final thing. And I think even more when we're talking about human-centered design and when we're really involving people, you learn from the mistakes throughout the process, not really from if you deliver a 100% perfect thing that is exactly the same you delivered before, you probably didn't learn anything, right? You're just doing the same thing over and over.
There's I used to work with sort of startups and stuff, and there was this real culture of like, and I do you know what? I think I even wrote it on a wall once, and I'm slightly ashamed of that, but it was like fail, fail faster, fail even faster.
Yeah.
But like, I know it's not as catchy, but it should be fail, learn, try again. What did you learn? Reflect, da 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 da. And that's sort of like that cycle of learning from failure and reflecting. There is a really good article by Fearless Cultures. I think it's called Not All Mistakes or Not All Failures Are the Same. And actually, there's some failures that are just messy and sloppy, and you just learn and don't do it again. Whereas there's the other big sort of gold mines where you should dive in and get comfortable in the uncomfortable of like, actually, we're going to learn a lot here, but we're going to scrape our knees, we're going to fall over together, but that's okay because that's we're learning, sort of failing forward.
Yeah. And I think maybe going back to the whole idea of psychological safety that you're talking about, how do you help a little bit people when they're starting this process that maybe they don't know so much about design thinking and this kind of uncomfortable pace that you're in the beginning, like the whole squiggle line, to become comfortable with this understanding of you don't know exactly all the ideas, you don't know exactly everything that's happening in the beginning.
I think I keep saying this recently. It's how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? You've got to like start really small. Don't try and sort of go, oh, we're doing all of this and sort of like because it's big and exciting. Start really small and sort of like incrementally move people up. I think the other thing, be honest about when you didn't get stuff. I'm really, really honest when I'm like, insights, it took me ages to get this. And sort of yeah, unpack it where, yeah, it's going to be difficult. Some bits you will grab straight away. Some people will get it straight away. Others will take a little bit longer, but there'll be other bits they don't get as well. So yeah, small, gentle sort of steps. It's all the psychological safety things. It's like be vulnerable yourself. Don't expect people to do. So if you're leading it, if you're facilitating it, you have to be what you want to see in that room. You have to sort of like model all of the behaviors that you want them to see as well and sort of bring them with you. And like I ask stupid questions. Sometimes I even know the answer, but I'll ask the stupid question just to put it out there. And it's the old there's no stupid questions. But yeah,
Yeah.
it just model those behaviors.
Yeah, because I think also any question can have multiple answers, right? And everybody has different experiences. So even if you ask a stupid, I don't think, I also believe there's no stupid questions, but even if you ask a stupid question that you know the answer, it might be that the answer of the other person is completely different. Or even if it's
Yeah.
slightly different, you already learn from their own perspective, right?
There's also in I think it's in Switch by Dan Heath, there's this really nice example. He uses a car wash, but I'm gonna use coffee stamps. So you know
Mhm.
when you go into a coffee shop and they give you a little sort of card and it's like, okay, there's some stamps on there and you get a free coffee at the end of it.
Yeah.
Basically, and I've had this, they go, "Oh, I like you. I'm going to give you 3 stamps." They don't like me. They want me to buy more coffee. If I've only got 1 stamp, and there's 10 stamps to complete, I feel miles away from completing it. I'm probably not going to come back. If they give me 4 or 5, I feel like I'm up that slope and I'm like, "Ooh, I only need to get 5." So it makes me feel special. And you can do that and this is just sort of learning design, this is just bringing people with you. So actually, if you need to onboard someone, and that could be UCD, it could be sort of in any space really, try and connect what do they do already. So we might be saying about co-design, but they might already do piloting, they might do something like that. So you can go, okay, that's what you do already, awesome, we call it this, but let's call it something you're comfortable with. Stop trying to enforce our jargon. Designers, I love us, but we love to force jargon on people. Just go to where they are, speak their language. Research, they've probably done bits of research before, but how do you sort of bring them into the space that we're talking about? So at the minute, working with the Topple Fellows, they talk medical research. That's very different from design research. And it's finding that bit in the middle that we can bridge and have those conversations and go, okay, ours is just enough. Yours has to be 100% because people die. Ours is more what's just enough that we can take that risk. What's that next step that we can go, okay, we can step into that space. So yeah, how do you find the ways of making them feel like they've made some of the journey already, speak their language, hold their hand if need be, but also let them lead, let them sort of go, I'm getting this, ask their opinions, have that dialogue.
Yeah, I
Talking
think
of dialogue, if somebody wants to ask a question.
yeah, exactly. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat while we're talking right now. In a second, we're going to have the Q&A segment. But I think it's always important, right, to acknowledge that communication is a two-way street, as you're saying. So it doesn't matter in the end what is the term that you use if both of you understand the same idea or a similar idea of what you're going to do. And that is quite relatable because I remember on the last project I was in, we had a UX designer, a developer, and me as a service designer. And I think we stayed 15 minutes looking at a board trying to define what was a sprint. And everybody had a different idea for what was a sprint. Like, no, but we shouldn't do that or that. We should do this. And we're like, okay, let's just call it a time, whatever it is. Let's just change the name because it doesn't matter if it's a UX sprint, a dev sprint, a service design sprint. We just have to know what we're going to do there together, right?
Just hold it lightly. Whatever you're doing, hold it lightly. And it's that I think that's a design maturity thing. You sort of get a little bit more like, that's all right. Sort of, I'm not going to fight over a name because that's not the important thing. It's what we're doing. It's the conversation. It's the, where we're heading in those outcomes.
Yeah. And I think kind of bringing to the title a little bit of this episode, which is People, Not Tools. We have been talking a lot about tools, but when we talk about co-design or human-centered design, what really matters in the end is the people there, right? The tools are there also just to facilitate the conversation more than anything. So how do you think is kind of this balance of making sure, as we're saying right now, that we're not just in the jargons, in the tools, but really including all the different perspectives and all the different people that are actually in the process with us?
Yeah, I think I talk about this quite a lot. There's a model called the Ahari window. So I have drawn this just because little model here. So Yahari model is this one. So it's Joseph Luft and Harry Ingham. Joe and Harry, see what they did there. And basically, I think this is the sort of interesting space. You've got the open arena, which is here. You've got the blind, you've got the facade or hidden, and then you've got the unknown. And a lot of the time, so this is a heuristic model. It's about me as an individual. So I think it's really, really important as a designer, as a researcher, as a creative working in this space, you have to understand yourself first. Because if you don't understand yourself, you don't understand your blind spots, you don't understand what you're like, the stories you're not telling. If you're not sharing about yourself, A, people won't share back to you. And B, like with the blind spots, it's very much go out and get feedback, ask for feedback. If you start asking it, people start asking back for you. So it's all about sort of widening that arena, sort of understanding yourself. There's a great quote, who I've forgotten said it, is there's three things that are hard in life, and I think it's steel, diamonds, and understanding yourself or knowing yourself. If you understand yourself, you are then a better team player. You are a person that you like. it's taken me years to understand. Sometimes I just go inside. You won't probably see it, but things will make me go, and I have to go, right, why did that person saying X make me so angry? Why did that feedback upset me so much? Whereas now I think I pause and sort of, this was very much Hyper Island. Hyper Island kind of makes you reflect and have feedback constantly until it becomes like something that's quite normal, and it doesn't hurt as much anymore. It does occasionally maybe go, oh, but it's like, no, this is good. It's feeding me, it's thriving me. So understanding yourself so you can understand your behaviors in that team. And then if the team can do that as well, because then you can set up those teams and you work as a sort of like, an organized system, let's say. That sounds really sterile, but sort of like you work as a beautiful team together. And actually, then you can concentrate on the work at hand because you're not getting upset with each other. You're not arguing over things that aren't work. Conflict, you will get into conflict, but it's healthy, creative conflict. And that's where, if you're doing all the peopling right, then you can use all the tools and the sort of wonderful stuff around that to get the job done. And that's where, funny enough, I think this comes in again. So if you flip this, so the model is all about individuals, heuristics, but actually if you flip that into this is the work. So what are you not telling your stakeholders or your users, your sort of customers? What tools do you need to use there to get that sort of out there? And also, like, where are your blind spots? So where are the feedback mechanisms and the tools there to make sure that your project, your organization, sort of like their arenas stretching as well? Hope that made sense.
100%. I think self-reflection and generally internal sustainability is so important, right? We have to, as you're saying, know yourself first and then go to actually learn and know with other people together. But with that, I'll also segue to our Q&A. So if you have any questions from our amazing talk until now, please drop them in the chat below and we're going to answer them live. And I also wanted to take a moment now to say, if you like these type of conversations, these insights, talks with a lot of people from the design community or the service design community, good reminders that tomorrow we're going to have our Next Gen conference. So it's a 20-hour program all over 3 different regions. I think we have almost 45 different speakers from diversity of backgrounds. So if that sounds exciting, please scan the QR code. You have 20% discount. Is going to start tomorrow on Friday. And I'll leave a less intrusive QR code here at the top while we're answering the questions. So it's a little bit out of the way.
Can I pick up on number one? Hi, Bethan. I love that it's my window. this is because I go on about it so much. I do think it's really important. There's a really nice comment about enjoying the chat about terminology. And they said about having a similar chat this morning. One thing I don't think I said then is just agree on the term. Like, don't just all talk in different terms. Like, unpack it, but just don't spend hours talking about exactly what you said, a sprint. Just call it. It's like the other day we were talking about some agile stuff, and these people were like, we don't like stand-ups, and actually they were like, oh, but we do huddles in the morning. It was exactly the same thing. We were like, great, we'll do huddles then, and it just solved the whole issue. So yeah, go with their language.
Yeah, I think you really get stuck a lot of times with the way you communicate. And also when you go to multicultural teams where people also have different languages, maybe English their second or third language, the connection really becomes important, creating that bridge, right?
And that's plain language. So plain language, for anyone that hasn't sort of encountered it, is just simple language. Keep it super, super simple. And when I was at Hyper Island, I worked with somebody and they were fantastic, but they tended to use really big, overcomplicated words. And one day I said, look, can we just sort of keep it at plain language? It's good, it's more inclusive, it's accessible. And they were a bit like, no, I can't, I'm not dumbing down. And actually, that isn't dumbing down, because that person spoke one language. The average Hyper Island student spoke about 3 or 4 different languages. So it's just like, actually, that plain language creates a space where we're all sort of at a level, and I think that should be in academic spaces and sort of like government spaces. So we usually use it more in government, but it's that you don't need to use those big words to be impressive. It's the understanding and the articulation.
Yeah, exactly. And I apologize for the little LinkedIn user. Thank you, Stacy, for the question or for the kind of statement. We also have more of a question statement here from Claire, which also is not showing, but yeah. So she's saying, as a leader and or manager, how do you encourage others to do an exercise like this if they aren't interested and or think they already know themselves well?
I think it's hard. You can't force, like, you can't change other people. They need to sort of get there themselves. Um, I would mini sort of sharing sessions, shine shine that light, talk about it. I think talk about it in a positive way. And if you can get other people, so if you can get other people doing these exercises and they talk about it and they shine the light, the hope is that people will come towards it and sort of see they might be missing out on something. Sometimes it is a case of you might want to put like a retro or a reflection session in, and actually it's just like, I'm going to go through this model, and you talk about the model first, and then you have a facilitated session. So it might actually be, instead of sort of like enforced, it's, we're going to hold a facilitated reflection session, we're going to use this model. And the model, actually, the Ahari window actually has got an exercise that goes with it. It's quite good fun. You could do it at away days and things like that. I think now we're hybrid and remote, I think it's even more important to put those in person if possible, um, sessions together. And away day, you could just run a really simple one on the away day. Sometimes it doesn't land with people. Sometimes it'll land a couple of months later where they're like, oh, but actually, because it's about that asking for feedback and sharing stories, the more you role model it, the more you ask for feedback, the more you share stories, the more it encourages the team. So if you're a leader in that space, try and do that. But I like, in design, we're all leaders, so just model the behavior.
Yeah, 100%. Then we have a reflection from Lubna, I believe. I only learned this a couple of weeks ago. Stands up isn't the most inclusive term. Not everyone can stand or walk, so it's a good reminder to be mindful of the language we use.
100%. I've just been drawing. Um, I've started drawing some things because I don't like the term kill two birds with one stone. I say feed
Mm.
two birds with one scone. I've started trying to illustrate some sort of things like that, and sort of, like, I'm going to die on that hill. I don't want to die on the hill, but I'm willing to walk up a hard incline. So yeah, again, they're probably not as fancy, but yeah, think about terminology. Thank you. That's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's quite important because it's those type of things that we don't even realize until we reflect upon them. What it actually means, right? With those kind of, I say, like sayings and things like that. And I think it's funny coming from somebody that doesn't have English as their first language. Sometimes people say these kind of sayings, and I'm like, what does that mean? It doesn't have any connection if you don't have the cultural background in a way. So yeah. And then with that, we're coming actually to the end of our time together. So thank you very much, Tash, for being here and for all your amazing insights.
Thank you very much. So that went really quick. Thank
Yeah.
you.
30 minutes is like poof, 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 and then we're done. But it was lovely.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for having me. Why I flicked them was because I am going to say it out loud. Um, I'm sure I found out like Deadline has got a very, very dark past the other day, and I was actually Googling it to check, and then I got distracted for 2 seconds, which is really
No
bad
worries.
practice. Sorry. But yeah, so there's other elements like that, but there's lovely words out there as well.
Yes. But thank you very much for your time and for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And for everybody that joined us online that either asked a question or was just curious to hear a little bit more about Tash's insights, thank you very much, because it really, like, these sessions, these episodes only happen because of you and the people in the service design community. And also a quick reminder that later today, we're also going to have a roundtable with Touchpoint editor and also people from Touchpoint. It's going to be at 6, so in just about 3 hours. So this is going to also be streamed through LinkedIn and YouTube as these episodes being streamed. So feel free to jump here on the link tree and have a look at that information. And also follow us to see more information about future episodes of the SDN Community Voices, and hope to see you all next Thursday. Bye.